Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch and see what happens.
I do feel isolated. And so I started talking to this person online. We laughed. He was cracking jokes and just making funny comments, and I was making funny comments back. It started out as a friendship, and I loved the friendship. We were talking on the phone, and he was expressing love for me.
Okay, so not only DMs through, I'm guessing, Facebook, but also talking on the phone. Interesting.
And he was making me really start to feel love for who he was portraying himself to be. This is really, really confusing because I was really caring about him too. It was probably one of the most confusing situations I've ever been in.
Yeah, I want to look at my notes again as to the beginning of their... We haven't gotten a lot of information, but she got married in 1990, and I think this season is in the early teens, like 2012-ish, so she would have been married for, 22 years. She's 19 when they get married. Cody was 22. And she got she had a miscarriage after Mariah, right? And let's see. She says she's a perfectionist. Sort of know what she means by that. Mary and Cody both say that she never expresses anger. That's very clear from her presentation. She's born 1971, so she's about my age. And she came from a polygamous family with 24 siblings, so you can imagine how important it would be to not rock the boat, because if you rock the boat, you probably get hammered down. I don't know that, but I'm just going to take a guess. Let's see. Her sister was in a polygamous marriage and died from cancer, and Mary is happy that her sister wives took care of her kid. At the very least, 19, and she comes from a polygamous family and probably has pretty low expectations about how involved she's going to be able to get with her husband. Janelle comes around pretty quick. She's married in 1993, so they had 2 or 3 years together, Cody and her. And I think from my memory, she said that they were happy and connected. I mean, even if she, because the thing I want to know is, has she ever felt in love? Really? Has she ever felt loved? And if I just go off assumption, then the answer would be yes, that she did in the beginning of her and Cody. I know a lot of people would assume that there's no way they were in love, but, in all likelihood they were. At the very least, it's been a long-ass time since she has felt that. And that's another thing, too, is that if you find yourself going in this direction, maybe you're like 10% down this road where you're connecting with a former partner, or you're chatting with randos online, and it's, it could be fine to do that. But if you feel like particularly craving it, it's a good time to check in with, like, okay, aside from what's happening with this situation, are my needs being met? Do I have enough closeness and interaction and love and does someone make me feel beautiful? Does someone make me feel sexy? Does someone make me feel loved? Does someone make me feel like I'm interesting to them? That's a good time to check in with that.
Because I'm sitting here married and I'm feeling these other emotions directed toward somebody else. I don't think that there's only one person in the world that somebody could love. It's how you act on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the life you live, that someone can love multiple. Now, in your cult/religious group, it's gendered in that only men can love multiple people, women can't, romantically and sexually, right? So I wonder if she's influenced by that. I don't know. The other thing I was just thinking is, wait, is this gonna blossom? And then this guy, like, she or she moves away and is with this other guy, or she has her own house, and I think the house is in her name. So she could actually have this guy move in. Then that'll be a whole new direction for the show. And then so is that the drama that happens in season 14? I don't know.
And I had chosen to not act on it. And I told him that. And he then started really, really pushing the issue.
Okay, so I talk about gaslighting, and I don't know if this is gaslighting. It's lying, because if she said catfish, so I guess there's a possibility that she doesn't even know what catfishing is. But anyway, point is that it's so when we talk about gaslighting, the difference between, love bombing. Did I say gaslighting? The difference between legitimate love bombing and just being in love with someone, right, is that, because both will involve a lot of infatuation with you. Someone's love bombing you, they're going to have a lot of infatuation with you. If someone's just in love with you and they're not nefarious, they are also very into you. And of the love bombers, a small percentage are doing it knowingly. They know that they're manipulating their target. But the vast majority of people that are engaging in love bombing, they don't see it that way consciously. They think that they're in love, but they see you as part normal romantic object to be in love with, but also part correction for the abuse that they went through, and they're transferring on to you a lot of their parents and their caregivers and their issues. And when you start to pull away and say, or not pull away, but even just pump the brakes and say, I don't know if I want to move forward, as she did. She's just like, this is great, but I don't know if because it sounds like he was asking to maybe get together, or I don't know, get more involved, or move out of the house or something. I don't know. And she's like, whoa, I don't know if I want to do that. If someone's not love bombing you, then they might be bummed out, but they will adjust because they love you and they're not desperate, and they're not seeing you as a target for their transference and displacement regarding their childhood issues. Whereas love bombers will not adjust well. They will not react well to that. If they're psychopathic, they're like, oh no, I'm losing the ability to have control, and I'm not going to be able to con this person. But for the vast majority of love bombers, it's like, oh my God, I am not going to be able to have all my needs met that I've never had in my life met because of the traumas I've been through by this person. And does this person not really love me? I mean, is this the first sign that yet again I'm being abandoned? Oh no, stop it.
He started expressing these things very early on as we were, starting to talk. And I remember thinking, that's kind of weird. You don't really know me. And I even told him, you don't even know me. And he's like, I know what you look like. I know a lot about you. And yeah, I wanted to meet him. I didn't see any problem with meeting him.
Okay, that's interesting. I think what she is saying is, yeah, I would love to meet him. There's no problem with that. We were friends. But, I'm guessing that by that point, at least he had been explicit about him not feeling like she was just a friend, So I think that's her justifying it to herself, the slippery slope. Or she is saying that she wanted to cheat. I don't think that's what she was saying.
He never would meet me. And then there was other things that kind of...
Okay, well, classic catfishing. So she is saying, I think, that she would ask to meet up a lot. So now I don't know if in her mind consciously she was thinking friendship or if she was thinking otherwise.
Started making me wonder what was going on. There was these little cracks in the story.
Yeah, and this is something that I ran into with other reaction videos to catfishing, in that after a certain amount of time of believing something to be true, because why would it not be true, right? Especially if you're not aware of that sort of thing. And also you need it to be true because you're getting your needs met finally for maybe the first time in your life. This person's they're with you throughout the day. You text them, they text you back. They text you and you text them back. It's just, they know there's a chance that this catfisher knew her on a micro level, like minute to minute. What are you doing? How was your sleep? What are you doing right now? Where were you? How you feeling? Did you like that hamburger you had? Show me a picture. Like it could just be all encompassing potentially. Whereas Cody, it's just like even if he wanted to be that attentive, he couldn't be, right? So there's that. And then once your brain is oriented that way and you start to see signs of maybe something's wrong, for us on the outside, it's like, well, obviously, if he's not going to meet up with you and you ask him to do that so many times, like you're being catfished. But to the individual, it's like, wait, because and a lot of this is unconscious. It's like, okay, if I even entertain that as a question, then there are so many bad things that emerge if I answer that question, yes, he is a catfisher. It means that all of this love and attention is not only just not there, it's just vapor that just disintegrated by the sun as it comes. I mean, I'm thinking of like fog. Anyway, not only that, but actually it's the opposite. This person is horrifically horrible. This person has been manipulating me the whole time potentially. And not only is all of that not there, but it's the opposite. This person is a danger. And I've opened up our family to danger. This person could be trying to blackmail me. What if all this gets out to the world? I mean, I'm a famous person now. And it also means that I'm a stupid little girl who is naive. And all those people online that say I'm a stupid cult member, they're all gonna laugh at me. Like, no. Let's not go there. Let's just assume that everything's on the up and up.
There were times early on that I was talking to him that I knew that he was just feeding me a line of bull. I knew it. And I knew this within the first week of talking to him.
Okay, I'm going to take it, maybe she'll clarify, but I'm going to take a guess and say that she knew it, but she would most of her overpower and deny. So I think what she's saying is she's beating herself up right now. She's like, oh, I knew it. I should have listened to that was so stupid of me. It's like, I knew I shouldn't have invested in that business. I just knew it, and then you ask, well, why did you do it? Well, in the moment, most of the person did not really know it, did not want to think about that.
And I chose to ignore it because I enjoyed just talking to somebody.
Yeah, breaks your heart. And this is something that we don't usually see. We hear about infidelity because that's what this is. It's infidelity. I guess we could ask how Cody feels about it. And could we say that she cheated on the sister wives as well? In a way, not in the traditional way, but they all agree to an agreement. And also there's like a religious commitment not only to the life that they're living, but eternity. Because Christine Pereira, who came on the podcast and the YouTube channel, talk about this. If you have 3 or more wives and you're in harmony, you have to be in harmony, then you, in the afterlife, get to live the best life in the afterlife. You get a whole planet or something, and it's like the coolest planet of all the different planets that you might get anyway. So, it's a huge betrayal, but it's infidelity. And so when, at least we'll see how they feel, but it could be easily looked at that way. Emotional cheating or intent to cheat. So for other shows, we will hear about infidelity, or we'll hear about it in our personal lives. And what we don't see is this. We don't see this vulnerability. We don't see the progress. She's telling us the story, and I would imagine a lot of people have sympathy for that, right? At least I do. I would hope you do. That it would be like, yeah, I don't think it was okay what you did, but I could see how you would get there. A lot of cheating is like that. A lot of cheating. Even the so-called narcissists online. even though they might have a hard time describing what happened for them internally, it's almost always this, and I've said this before, that every case of infidelity that I've worked with and every case of infidelity in my personal life, people around me, I have very confidently conceptualized as being born out of extreme suffering. And we're seeing that right here. It doesn't make it okay, but it's not, he's a narcissist necessarily. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's time for Thanksgiving. And in my family, we always have a really big Thanksgiving. My dad always gets us into a circle before dinner, and we hold hands, and we each give thanks for things in our lives. And afterwards, I always feel really uplifted. Research has actually shown that giving gratitude is associated with a lot of positive mental health outcomes and also with positive health benefits like improved sleep and improved immune system. Therapy can be a great place to explore our gratitude. There are likely positive aspects of ourselves that we don't see that a therapist can help us to discover, and then we can have gratitude even for things about ourselves. Well, one place you can find a therapist is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Bastard.
I'm glad she's getting angry. She and Cody both said on the show that she doesn't express her anger. And even if they hadn't said that, I would have suspected that given her presentation. So if anything, silver lining, she's getting in touch with her anger. If I were her therapist, I would be like, this is good. I'm sorry it had to come to this, but I'm glad you're getting in touch with your anger, which is getting in touch with you.
I've been pulling away from the family because I've been trying to protect them, and I don't know how. I don't know what I need to do, is what I'm saying.
Okay, her statement right there was she was pulling away from the family because she wanted to protect them, which I could imagine. But I also think it was, in all likelihood, more than that. For her to just involve herself in this anyway, I think, is pulling away, or the results of having pulled away a fair amount, or having never really been fully connected. I could see a scenario where her and Cody had enough of a connection, maybe a deep, in their way, a very close relationship. Janelle comes in and she gets pregnant first with Logan. I'm looking at my notes. Then Christine comes in. So it's after 2 or 3 years that Janelle comes in, and then Christine is that next year. So it's pretty quick. And then Christine gets pregnant pretty quick. And from my memory, the adults in this family said that they waited a bit to have kids to make sure that all 3 of the sister wives were getting along. And then, so at some point, then Janelle gets pregnant, Christine gets pregnant, then Mary gets pregnant. So, you can imagine things going fairly well. Then all of a sudden, boom, there's 2 sister wives, kids start to come in, and then she starts to depart the shores of this family when she has trouble, conceiving, and the other sister wives are having kid after kid after kid, and she feels more and more, and she's prone to doing this anyway, and she's been distant a long time. She's been pulling away a long time. She's not as involved because she feels alienated, or she doesn't want to get involved, or something. I guess, the other possibility is that there's some passive aggression in here. When people have a hard time expressing anger, typically what will happen is they will become passive aggressive. They will become hostile and angry in hidden ways, even to themselves. One of the ways that people will do that is through cheating. It's a very common reason or conceptualization as to why people cheat. They have suppressed anger and they don't know how to express it, usually because of their upbringing. And again, you can imagine that for Mary, having been raised with 24 siblings, you would imagine that it would be hard to be heard, and you would have to just suppress, right? Now, maybe her mom was there for, I don't know, But anyway, so what am I saying? Anyway, so I'm wondering if she has been stuffing her anger this whole time. She's been getting distant. She's been cutting herself off from her emotions her whole life. And then with the empty nest thing, then suddenly it's like, okay, what about me? And one way to see this is that if they had regular upbringings where they were allowed to date and go through all those feelings, and they weren't pressured to get married really quickly at the age of 19, then they would experience these kinds of impulses and messiness at the messy ages of 13 to 19. And then you mature and grow out of that and say, okay, I kind of know my impulses. I know my needs a little bit better, so I can navigate the waters a little bit better.
So I started figuring this stuff out. I started looking into him or who he said he was, and there was way too many holes, way too many questions that he couldn't answer. And then when I would ask him about it, he would flip out. He would become almost verbally abusive.
Wow, rough. That's rough. She's entwined with him. She probably loves him deeply, depends on him, like a lot. And he had his hooks in her and, would get angry. That's rough. It's one thing to be a catfisher. It's another thing to be an abusive catfisher, because there are versions of catfishers where they're similar to Mary. They're just desperate, and it doesn't make it okay. It is horrifically nefarious and psychopathic, and I would argue to some extent criminal, but I don't think it actually is in a weird way. And unless there's fraud involved, depending on the jurisdiction. Anyway, so for the catfishers who are not abusive, when you push back, they'll try to trick, but they're not going to go on the attack. So for this person to go on the attack, that's pretty awful. And there's a possibility this could even be like some kind of organization that'll happen sometimes. There are nefarious groups of people that are, as a business, doing this to people. So, and sometimes they are trained by their managers to actually react this way, to get angry, because it'll throw people off. Because a lot of people have a hard time dealing with anger, and when people are angry at them, they will accommodate, you know what I mean? Instead of evaluating and standing up for themselves.
Me. And all this time, he still would never meet me. He used to make comments about his friend who was technologically savvy, that she could do damage.
Wow. I think what we're hearing is she's saying, if you start fucking around, then you're going to find out what me and my friend can do, or what I can do. I will ruin you. I have all this. Oh my, is that what we're hearing? My God. I mean, it's one thing to be catfished. It's another thing for this to happen. I mean, this could set Mary back so far. She already, in all likelihood, had a lot of healing and growing to do, getting to know herself. But this could even drive her further back into the religious group, because she stepped outside and look what happened. This is what the devil does. You gave in to temptation and this is what happens. So come back to us.
And he would make comments like, you don't ever want to mess with her. I thought I was talking to a man online and on the phone. And I think it wasn't a man. It wasn't a man.
It was a woman? What? What? I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter what the gender is, because if you're being catfished, you're being, even if it was a man, in all likelihood, it's not their picture, right? So, it doesn't really matter, right? You're still being conned by somebody. They're lying about a billion things. Why not one more thing?
I believe that it was a woman pretending to be a man.
I believe that. Huh. So she doesn't know, sounds like.
It was a woman who had been watching me online, and I feel like I have been targeted.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That given her level of fame by the time season 9, I mean, I'm guessing this happened or started at least during season 8, if not before that. I don't know. But yeah, by that time, my understanding is that this was a pretty popular show, or popular enough anyway. So she's saying someone actually, a fan, actually targeted her? Wow.
The biggest concern that I have through all of this is what my family is going to think of me and feel about me and what they're going to want to do with me. Cody's not saying anything. He doesn't know what's...
Yeah, it is an interesting question I hadn't thought about. And they're really editing this scene. I guess I like it. It's frustrating. And I'm guessing for you it's frustrating because by the time this episode comes out, this might be 2 or 3 episodes into my reaction, because the way that they're doing this is the one-on-one interview, she's telling her story to her family. She hasn't said it yet. She's just said a vague statement of like, I might wake. And in some ways, what she's telling the family is worse than telling them that she's been catfished. I mean, telling them that one day I might just be gone, I might abandon you, is like, huh? But it is a question of how would they react if they heard this? I mean, given the way that they reacted to her saying one day I might be gone, they were supportive. I don't know if I showed all those scenes. They're all just like, well, we've noticed you've been distant. If you need it, what can we do to help? They were all asked. In fact, I will thumbs up that, because they were really supportive, actually, in a weird way. I mean, why? She's saying, I'm planning on potentially abandoning you. You just imagine that. What? Why? And so they're all just being helpful. I guess one could argue that maybe they all want her to go. I don't know. But at any rate, how would they react? I'm going to take a guess and say that Cody would be hurt, as I think he should be, because it's infidelity. And then what would he do with that hurt? I don't know. I could see him leaning in and trying to repair after an initial meltdown or something. I could see him being toxic masculine and saying, I'm not taking this bullshit, you're out, or something. I mean, we haven't seen anything along those lines. I could see the sister wives being judgmental. I could see them being secretly judgmental. I could see them being kind. I don't know. I could see this opening a door for the other sister wives. But yeah, I guess we'll find out. All right, well, that's the end of this episode, and she didn't tell him anything, really. So I guess they would eventually watch the show, so eventually they find out. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.